Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Public Opinion Tea Time with your host, Pam and Vanetta. Hey, we just came from seeing the movie American Fiction, which everybody is talking about. It's all the buzz about how many awards they think it's going to win. And so, Vanetta, it stars, just to give you all a little bit of an overview about the movie, it stars Jeffrey Wright. He is, he's a writer who has kind of fallen into not really a writer's block, but he's been having kind of problems really distributing his books.
He's also a professor too.
Yeah, he's a professor.
And he's not relatable.
He's not relatable. He would be called like a literary scholar, and he writes his fictional books in the same manner. So as a result, they haven't been as popular as another writer who has put out a book, a very urban book, and she has just risen to the top of the charts because of this very kind of like urban book that they believe that white people want to read. You know, they
believe that white people feel like, oh, I'm learning the Black experience.
Exactly.
And I guarantee you, her book was written at a fourth grade level.
Right. But at any rate, her book was all the rage. So at any rate, his the person who was producing his books or whatever,
his
publisher, he told him that he should write books that are a little bit more urban because that's what
that's what's selling
right now, and
a little more grit to
it. Absolutely, but he didn't want to really do that. So at any rate, there's another backstory with his whole family. His sister, who was played by Tracee Ellis Ross. I don't know if we should say really what happens to her, but at any rate, there's a lot of drama in his family. He's also at the same time taking care of his mother, who was recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and his brother, who recently come out as being gay.
And he finds out that he didn't know, but everyone else knew his father was a philanderer.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of women.
So it's a lot of stuff going on in this movie. But at any rate, he writes a novel just as a joke because he's like, okay, if they want Black, I'm gonna really write Black. So he writes a book that has a lot of stereotypical type of things. Like he has a father, a guy that kills his father.
Who had been abandoned by his father, and the system had mistreated him, and his mother was bad and all that.
Yeah.
Here's a big thing. It appears he wrote it overnight.
Yeah, real fast. He went down and was just writing like, okay, I'm about to write. Y'all want some Black? I'm about to write some Black, some urban.
And it was a
stuff.
joke to him.
As a joke to him. However, when his publisher sent it away, he got offers a $750,000 writing bonus, signing bonus.
Even the publisher thought it was trash.
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't want to submit it.
At first, the publisher just said, I can't submit it. And then he said, okay, I'm only going to submit it to like three places. So anyway, it became like this big overnight success. He did not want to have his name associated with it. So he used a pseudonym, Stagger Lee.
But he started with the pseudonym, his pen name.
Right.
But what was just remarkable, a book before that even hit the shelves was already being adapted for a movie.
Yes. Yeah. So it was, the name of the book at first was My Pathology. Pathology. And then when he found out that they wanted to make a whole movie, and push this book also before the movie, he said, we're going to change the name. I can't say, but it began with an F.
And three more letters.
Right. And they were like, you can't call this book that. And he was like, well, I'm not going to agree to it.
But he was doing it to sabotage the book.
As a joke to sabotage the book. They were like, okay. And
love it.
Yeah, love it. So there was a lot of things, I guess, that they were trying to say. One is the way that white people, or I guess what he felt like the way white people did perceive the urban experience to be, almost as if that's the only stories that we have, whereas we are people who are very colorful, who have stories just like anybody else's, whose lives are like anybody else's.
Now, Issa Rae was in it, and
she was the one who wrote the urban book that really
had taken off.
Yes.
And she was well respected, and like him, a literary giant in her own, but she wrote to a lower group, a lower class.
And then we can't forget this, which was a big piece of it. He was asked to be a judge or a panelist for the literary awards. And so his book that he wrote,
he never thought in a million
never
years.
thought it would be up for an award. So he had to judge his own book. Along with Issa Rae.
And he tried to kill it. He tried, but he also, now we are leaving out one other big thing and not giving anything away. He didn't want his to be released who he was. Okay, we understood that he wrote under a pen, but he also gave himself a really good backstory.
Yeah.
He had been a prisoner.
Yeah.
Or he had been in prison.
Right.
And
he was a fugitive.
And he alluded that it might have been murder.
Yes.
Okay, so he couldn't come forward.
Right. So at any rate, what did you think about the movie?
I thought it moved slowly originally. I thought the premise was wonderful.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it once I got into it. It had some lighthearted moments.
Right.
I thought it was the American family. I really do. In the respect that we all have complex relationships.
And that's the thing. I think, and I love the title of the movie, American Fiction. Because I believe that the fiction part is the pretend, what people might perceive.
Right.
Instead of looking at the fact that people are just individuals, black, white, whatever, we all have stories, and they're not always the same stories, and they're not stereotypical stories. Well, and they have layers to them.
Well, if you were to look at his family from the outside, everyone was a doctor. PhD doctor, medical doctor,
very
educated. The father was a doctor. So they were second generation educated people. That is what we all thrive to be. So you would think that that was the perfect scenario.
Yeah.
But the sister, her and her husband broke up. The other man, him and his woman broke up, and then he decided to be gay.
Right. No problem I had a hard time believing that people would think that that book was good. That it would be a best-selling book. That's the part.
But what
I got a problem with.
I'm gonna tell you where I thought in this. Probably the subject matter was stupid. Okay, without question. But it was probably very well written.
And that's what I was thinking. I said, I think that's what they thought. They probably said, okay, this man who probably is uneducated, running from the law, but somehow he found
great education.
But somehow he found a way to really articulate his life experience into this book. And so I think maybe that's what they thought. They were like, wow, this is a real good glimpse into, his psyche and what he, thought was going on.
I think he probably made a really good story, enveloped you in it, because there was a black character, a girl he liked, and she had read it and read his other books and enjoyed them.
Yeah.
And enjoyed this
And she enjoyed this one as well. And like she said, there's all kinds of books, So, but yeah, I overall, I think it was a very well made movie.
Yeah.
I think it was a little slow. However, those types of movies, I think, make you think. And I think sometimes if you're going expecting a whole lot of stuff to happen in the first 10, 15 minutes, that's not it.
What I was thinking is this is moving really slow.
Yeah.
And so I hope it's
I
so
don't really mind movies that move slow as long as the characters are interesting and they give you something to think about.
Well, I guess that would be true because at the very start, he's offending people day one.
Yeah.
I mean, moment one.
And so that I did like about it. It's not one of those movies that everything is going to happen all at once and that you don't have to think about it. And I do appreciate movies that make me think and make me really want to get into the characters. And I think that they did a good job of character development.
Remove yourself back a stage. Would you have, if you went to the movies and paid $9 and paid for some popcorn and, got all dressed up, would you be happy?
Yeah. And so I guess the way to look at it, I guess that is the way to look at it. And I think it was worth, going to see. I would encourage people to go see it. And I can understand why it's critically acclaimed.
Very,
the
actors are, and there's so many great black actors in it. You will harken back to lots of different time periods of where you've seen these people, and everybody does a great job.
Yeah, they do. So I think it's worth seeing, and we'll see what happens in the award season, whether or not it wins anything. But I do believe that it's going to win some awards, and I understand why. However, once again, if you're going expecting a lot of excitement, you're not gonna get it from this movie at all. But if you enjoy watching us and our conversations, continue to follow us on Facebook as well as YouTube, and listen to us if you cannot watch us anywhere you get your podcasts. So until next time, we'll see you for another episode of Public Opinion Tea Time.
We're Cisco and Ebert.